By the time Suikoden 5 was released in 2006, the PlayStation 2 was on its last legs. Sony's next generation console, the PlayStation 3, would be released about a half year after the game hit shelves, so many gamers had already moved on. Not to be disturbed though, committed fans of the Suikoden title still eagerly awaited the next installment, and couldn't wait to get their hands on it. I was no different, and picked up the game right when it came out. According to most, Suikoden 5 didn't disappoint. Even as many people had turned their focus to the next generation of gaming, old school RPG enthusiasts lauded the title. It featured all the redeemable aspects of the series: unite attacks, duels, an incredible story, and the ability to recruit the 108 Stars of Destiny. Many fans considered it a true return to form. Because the story takes place 8 years prior to the first Suikoden game, it also provided many opportunities for the developers to tie the lore from that game back into this one. And this was a great call in my mind. Seeing familiar characters from the past was a total nod to series fanatics, and I definitely appreciated it. It was the perfect way to represent a new story while also honoring the past and giving fans what they wanted to see. Like Suikoden 4, the main story dialogue is fully voice acted. The dialogue is probably the best written of any game in the franchise, and the developers clearly put time and effort into the tale. This was a step forward from Suikoden 4, and the company did a great job putting the right people in the right roles. I don't think the quality is quite as good as, say, Final Fantasy XII, but it does flow smoothly overall, and few pieces of the delivery feel too forced or overdone. Suikoden 5 takes place in the Queendom of Falena, a prosperous domain ruled by Queen Arshta. You play the role of Freyador, the prince of the Queendom who's caught up in the middle of a struggle between two powerful houses, the Godwins and the Barrows. A tournament is set to take place to determine the husband of the prince's sister, Princess Limslea, who stands to inherit the throne. Also, the Queendom's legendary Sun Rune, one of the 27 True Runes, has recently taken Queen Arshtat as a host. As a result, she begins to behave extremely erratically. After Freyador and the royal family experience a series of setbacks, they are forced to flee and plan to fight back against those who seek to undermine them. As you may have guessed, Suikoden 5 continues the tradition of establishing a base of operations, building up your army, and seeking vengeance upon those that have wronged you and your companions. As far as combat goes, Suikoden 5 resurrected one major feature from the past. The auto command is back as a menu choice, which sets all characters in the party to attack your enemies, a great way to streamline the fights that can become monotonous. The return of this aspect doesn't mean the title didn't innovate, however. Suikoden 5 introduces battle formations for the first time, which play a major role in your strategic approach. You begin the game with only one formation, but you obtain more as you progress. Formations grant statistical bonuses and also a special skill that only that formation can use. This makes it possible to draw attacks to particular characters in order to shield your weaker ones, heal your party, or even use unique elemental spells. Suikoden 4 went down to a party size of 4 characters, but Suikoden 5 returned to the roots of the series by bringing back the traditional 6. In addition, the Unite attacks are back to the traditional style that doesn't require leveling them up. There are 48 different Unites, and this was yet another shift back to the roots of the series that I think will please most of the hardcore fans. Suikoden 5 also utilizes a skill system similar to the one used in Suikoden 3. Characters gain SP in battle, which can be used to enhance things like attack power, magic power, and vitality. This functioned as a creative advancement mechanism on top of leveling, and opened up character customization options similar to those embraced by the Star Ocean games. Suikoden is known by RPG fans around the world for its army battles, so Suikoden 5 gave fans one more reason to rejoice. Each successive title in the series made its own tweaks of these special strategic encounters, but this one brings back army battles that are most similar to the ones seen in the first Suikoden game. There are some differences, however, as you can now move units around the world in real time. The victor of clashes between different units is determined by the unit type and also by the bonuses granted by the generals of each unit. Each character also has a special army battle specific skill that can grant certain advantages. Some of these are unique, but others are shared by multiple characters. In either case, just like the skills system, it was a great way to create variance and set the characters apart in a tangible way. Duels are still here and they function exactly like they do in the other Suikoden games. There are 4 total, which I think is just about the right amount. The game does a very good job at varying the gameplay between storyline, normal battles, army battles, and duels, and the balance in Suikoden 5's gameplay is definitely one of its most attractive qualities. The soundtrack embraces the same style as Suikoden and Suikoden 2, while also reusing remastered pieces from those 2 games, so I think it's really enjoyable. It's almost as if the team that worked on it went back and listened to Miki Higashino's score in an attempt to recreate that style, and I think the sheer quality makes up for the lack of creativity. Suikoden 5 makes recruiting the 108 Stars of Destiny tougher than many of the previous entries, as many of the characters cannot be enlisted after you complete certain portions of the game. Doing this without some sort of guide seems nearly impossible to me, so make sure to research this going into a new game if you plan to do it. The difficulty in recruiting all possible characters is counterbalanced a bit though by the difficulty of the bosses, which I think are a bit on the easy side. If you find a good formation and a powerful combination of characters and runes, you will fly through this game without much of a challenge. My biggest qualm with Suikoden 5 is probably the design of the game's various locations. The graphics were excellent in my mind, but the areas themselves were lackluster. Many of the towns were too big for no reason, and some of the dungeons just consist of a series of corridors. This really puts a damper on exploration, and I think they could have used a bit more creativity. A change in color palettes is usually the only thing that differentiates them. For fans of the series, Suikoden 5's release ended up being bittersweet. Despite all the fun it provided to those that love these titles, it was the last numbered one in the franchise, and it ended up being a flop in terms of sales. Less than 200,000 copies were sold in its first year in Japan, and it did even worse in North America. Even still, I think Suikoden 5 is the best Suikoden game on the PlayStation 2. It had a compelling story that was never a bore, and also fun characters, great progression systems, and good music. It was really all I could ask for given that the creator and mastermind of the series had left Konami. It's just heartbreaking there was never another mainline Suikoden game after this one. In 2009, there was a spin-off title on the Nintendo DS called Suikoden Tear Cries, but it just wasn't the same. There was also a Japan-only Suikoden title on the PSP that takes place outside of the main canon. When Suikoden 5 was released, I never expected it to be the true twilight of the series, but that's really what it ended up being. Regardless, it's absolutely worth returning to, especially if you're a fan of retro RPGs and never played it back then. But I want to hear from you in the comments. Where do you think Suikoden 5 ranks in terms of the series? Was it one of the best? One of the worst? Somewhere in between? Let me know what you think. Please like, subscribe, and click the bell for more retro gaming content, and please join my Discord community linked in the description. Also, please consider supporting my channel via YouTube's Join feature or as a Patreon patron to receive member exclusives, such as advanced videos and complete video transcripts.